IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Don't be startled. You haven't tuned into the wrong podcast. I'm just filling in for Saif and Faiza. My name is Naga, and I host the Passion People podcast. The Passion People podcast chronicles stories of people who follow their passion and make it manifest in tangible ways. So you can get inspired and get one step closer to what it is you're passionate about. In case you're wondering where you've heard me before, I interviewed for the Musafir Stories special edition for Amazon Suno, and my episode was on taking a gap year. Saif and I have also done a couple of collaborative episodes with our friends Vishnu and Shankar from the Writer and Geek show as well. If you're interested to know more about the Passion People podcast, you can look for it in your favorite podcast platforms and also on the show notes for this episode. On today's episode of the Musafir Stories, our guest Sangeetha chats with Saif and Faiza and talks about her motivation for travel and her recent trip to Kerala, God's own country. Let's hop on to the episode and find out what's in store.
So, with that introduction, we'd love to welcome Sangeetha to the Musafir Stories. Sangeetha, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and welcome.
Hi Sangeetha, welcome to the Musafir Stories.
Hey, Saif and Faiza, thank you. Thanks a lot for keeping me on the show. It's really an honor to be here.
Trust me, it's completely our honor to have you.
Yeah,
Yes,
more
so
so
happy.
because,
Yes.
very, very, very old friend. I won't tell you from how many years ago I know Sangeetha so that you guys can find out how old I am or we are.
Yes.
But yeah, very old friend and really, really glad to have Sangeetha on the podcast. And Sangeetha was one of the selected winners of the Get Featured in the Musafir Stories contest that we try and have every year on the occasion of the International Podcast Day. So to the rest of the listeners, just keep this in mind. If you want to be on the podcast as well, keep a watch out on our social media pages as well as on the podcast. We make announcements from time to time to have you on the podcast. But yeah, today we have Sangeetha with us. Sangeetha, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, where you're based and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, I'm very much from Namma, Bengaluru. I've been born, brought up, and all my life I've been here. And I'm from the era where you had a series of engineers. So yes, I'm also an engineer, a software professional. Yeah. I currently work with an investment banking firm, and travel is always a pleasure that me and my husband enjoy. Even with my parents, we used to travel, but definitely we are not someone who keeps traveling every day, but we love it. So we definitely plan yearly vacations, and we try to do a combo of like adventure, nature, and of course my husband is a foodie, so we try out for options on food, though we are vegetarians, but still we explored that area. And to top it all, right, travel is always vacation. So any day we would look forward to it. Yeah. So that's about me.
Yeah, and especially when it's like the combination of travel and food, trust me, that's like nothing better than that.
True. Very true.
And you definitely need some vacation time when you're living in that deadly combination of living in Bangalore, working in an investment bank, and facing the traffic and all of that every day. You definitely do need vacation. So really, really happy to be talking to you today. Now, why don't you go ahead and tell us and the listeners where you're taking us to on this episode of the Musafir Stories?
Yeah, so today we'll be going through a journey into Munnar, which is a hill station in Kerala. And yeah, that's going to be our journey today.
Okay, so trust me, Munnar is very like close to Saif and I, because every time we think of one of our favorite holiday destinations that we've covered so far, it's always been Munnar. then Hampi. I mean, the order is like equal: Munnar, Hampi, and then like one more other place. But yeah, I mean, Munnar is very
Yeah,
close
it's a
to us.
very special place, and again, I'll keep going back, and I don't know if I should use the word bitching about Bangalore, but
Oi.
when you've been living in a city and you go to a place like Munnar, especially, and given that it's a hill station and it's a little higher above the sea level, that way it's much cooler, also much more green with all the hills and all the vistas to see around you. It's just it just feels like heaven. So really glad that we're talking about this, and hopefully we can chip in with some points from time to time from our experience traveling there also a few years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, when I was reading up about Munnar, I just got to know that Munnar is also known as like the Kashmir of the South India because it's so beautiful and green and the hills. So yeah, that's like
it's
one
true.
point there.
And apparently it translates to three rivers, right?
Correct. It's a confluence of three rivers.
Confluence of three rivers. I will not attempt pronouncing those rivers. Some of them are a little tongue twisters. But yeah, that's a little bit of a background about Munnar. Now, when or what time of the year did you make this trip, Sangeetha?
So we had been in this year, 2019, in October. So it was just after the monsoons, and actually still not monsoons and completely not off. So it was the end of the monsoons.
Okay, brilliant. So one might have to just watch out what time of the year you're traveling. Usually September through, say, early in the year, like Feb, March is pretty nice and pleasant in Munnar. I'm only calling that out because not long ago, right? I think it was a couple of years ago that they had like really bad floods in Kerala, and Munnar also was one of the affected places.
Right.
So look out for travel advisory. Usually very nice and pleasant weather during that time, but sometimes you might have to watch out. And in terms of the itinerary, like how long of an itinerary was this?
So ours was a 5-day itinerary, including the travel from Bangalore to Munnar and back. So in all, 5 days we covered places. Yeah.
Okay, and
Nice. And how many of you all traveled, Sangeetha?
So it was just our family, 3 of us, me, my husband, and our kid. We went on a vacation. Yeah, so it was just us.
Wonderful, nice.
Okay.
It's nice to travel with a toddler.
Yeah.
I keep looking at all the mothers and fathers. I'm like, wow, hats off to them for taking that initiative.
It definitely is very nice. It has a lot of other things also behind it.
Right.
But yes. On the whole, yes, it is always good.
yeah, read the offer documents carefully, right? There's a lot of caveats.
Yes, the star is always to be noted.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of getting to Munnar, I know, so you did travel there from Bangalore. We actually drove all the way. We were, I don't know, foolish enough or whatever. We drove all the way, which is a pretty long drive. When you're driving up from Bangalore, it's, I think, over 10 hours just to get there
It's
driving.
500 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly, over 500 kilometers. What about you guys? How did you manage to get there?
Yeah, so initially our plan also was to drive down, but then considering that we had a kid and we had to be entertaining all along, so I decided I do not want to really do that, and so we opted for taking a flight down to Kochi, and we then rented out a car that we could self-drive down to Munnar. So we did a combo of a flight plus road trip.
Oh, nice.
Okay, great. So you have enjoyed that road, but part of it, right? Because leading up to Munnar, the drive is like really, really scenic. So if somebody is doing that, I think it's a great idea to do that too.
True.
Yeah, and Sangeetha, maybe some tips about how to keep a kid engaged, because I see a lot. I mean, in your blog post, you've written about all these cool stuff that you used to you were playing with your kid all along. So maybe it's just like a shout out to our listeners, like the best.
Sure,
I felt that was really interesting.
Okay, great. So see, at the age, right, now I think she's crossed a stage where it's not just about feeding and sleeping. It's a little more that she understands a few things and she needs to be constantly engaged because she's very curious about a lot of things, etc. So even in a car journey, right, there's very little time where she can just sit quiet and stare out. I don't think you can expect anything more of nature from a 4-year-old. So that's when you start getting more innovative and anything that you do becomes a game, right? So, and anyways, it's a two-sided thing. So one is about keeping engaged, and second thing also she keeps learning, and anyway in school she has to learn alphabets, numbers, etc. So we did a combination of both together and started coming up with games. So that's how we started. So one of the things we picked from even my sister's kids was a word game called Related Words, where you just say one word and the next person has to say a word related to your word.
Wow.
And that keeps going on in a circle. So that way the kid also starts thinking of new things, starts looking out to find new words, etc. So that was interesting, and it can keep you going for some time till the kid exhausts all the words that she
Right.
knows. Yeah, so but it goes on pretty good. And then, of course, the phonics was one other thing that we did. Like you say a word and guess the first letter, or rather try to figure out the first letter, not guessing it. So that was one. And then languages now, because we speak one at home, and then in Bangalore, you would definitely learn a lot of languages.
Right.
So we try to like translate, okay, what I say one word in this language, what is it in another language? So that these kind of things, everything is around words and maybe short sentences, but it's all different things in that. So yeah.
Wow, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a guinea pig on our next road trip, and Fazal will start trying these on me. But yeah, thank you for calling those out. Now, it's you said it's about a 3-hour drive from Kochi, you said, or
Yes.
was it a little less? Okay. I mean, in terms of distance, it's not quite as much, but it's just that you're driving up the hills. So usually it's
Right.
at a much lower pace. And the great thing about this is the great views, right? Obviously, we'll touch upon them during the course of the conversation as well. But from point to point, make sure to take those stops, because the views keep changing quite a bit too. So I think that's a great thing to look out for also during the drive. Now, in terms of your stay, where were you guys put up, Sangeetha?
So yeah, we chose a place called the Munnar Tea Country Resort. It's a resort, like they have different kinds of rooms and a slightly good view as well compared to the rest. It's not just a hotel, and they have a few other facilities as well. Like they had a good restaurant, and they had some few activities, and they also had a spa, etc. And they had different range of cottages. And some of their places, like amphitheater and the open area, etc., had a very good view of the hills and the valley below. So it was part of a valley. So in front, it was completely, you could see the forests in the valley. And if you did a slight trek towards the backside of the resort, you could see all the tea plantations there. So it was a nice located place.
Now, let's just jump into your itinerary and talk a little bit more about it. And so, in terms of what you had planned out for that day, did you have some things to do on that day that you arrived, Sangeetha, or how was this?
The way the whole thing was planned was that we had divided the map of Munnar into like 3 sections, like the north part, the mid, and the south. And we wanted to keep road travel at as much low as possible, because I didn't want to keep just going on in the car all the way. So that way, the itinerary initially was planned like day 1 when we go, because we are driving down 3 hours. We really didn't want to do anything on the first day. We just wanted to relax. Then the second day was towards the north area. The third was the mid, and lastly towards the south was the initial plan. So, of course, we went there and little improvised it based on the feedback that people gave around. But that's the point. And on the whole, I think we stuck to more or less the similar thing, except that we did a little combining of places in between, which we can talk through in each day. But that's primarily the key thing that we kept in mind, that each day we should not be going like more than 1.5 hours one-way travel, and we should be able to cover the points on the way. And we wanted all days to have a combo of nature plus some activity type of thing to do, because nature for us, and for the kids some activity to keep her engaged. So that's how we kept a combo it on all days. We made sure that we have that combo.
Nice. That's a good planning, actually.
Now let's get started off with the first place that you guys visited, right? You've broken it up into sectors and by directions and all of that, so that's great. Now, what was planned for the first day, Sangeetha?
Yeah, so first day we kept it pretty much closer to our area of the resort where we were staying, and so that was in that. We did a combo. We picked a few places from the resort's itinerary also, so they had some suggestive itineraries that they gave. So we picked up one from that. So firstly, we thought, okay, we'll inaugurate it with something for the kid, and we started off with the park. So we went to a Blossom Heidel Park, which was close by. It had a really super high rating on Google, like it had a 4+ rating, and even the reviews written like had a lot of activities in it. Some said skates, some said some tree house kind of setup, and a lot of things for the kids, etc. So we thought, okay, that might be a good thing to start. We kicked off from there, and but very sad thing to say, the first thing we actually went in there, it was very disappointing, because firstly there was like no one in the whole place, and we seemed to be the only family there, and it's just a park. It's very similar to any park you would have in any city. And because of the highly commercialized nature, right? I think some of these things are really highly overrated, and many of the things didn't even exist, like boating and tree houses, whatever was given in the reviews. Again, I don't know if things have changed over the recent years or things, but that didn't exist. But in the whole, they just had a few it's a park with a lot of statues here and there of animals and all that. So that was good. So we took some pictures with the kid here and there. And the top highlight of the whole thing was they had a zip lining within the park, right?
Okay,
though it's a small one. It's not really like the adventure stuff that you would expect, but it's meant for kids where for a short distance they can do a zip lining. So initially, our kid had not done it before, so she kept looking at it. She was a little apprehensive, but then with little giving her little motivation and then offering to do it myself, etc. She finally agreed, and then she really, really loved it so much. And that's the only place in the whole city, and maybe even in other cities, where they allow a 4-year-old on a zip line.
I know.
So
because I was thinking that, I was like, whoa, zip lining for a 4-year-old is...
Yeah. I mean, that's not really like the big mountain type thing, but still, even then for a kid, I think it is pretty high.
Yeah.
And she really loved it. And we were like, okay, good. So not bad that we actually came to this place and we figured this out.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't have any of the other stuff that was mentioned on the reviews on Google. So that is something to be looked out for if you're actually planning for that place. And after that, we wanted to go to a viewpoint. So Pottomeadow viewpoint was the closest one near that, on the route for that day. Mm-hmm. So we did a stopover at that place. So that one more thing that struck me at that place was all these viewpoints in Munnar, right? They don't really have a signboard saying that this is a viewpoint. I was surprised by that. Yeah. Google Maps knows it very well, and it takes us to the right point, but there is no signboards there. So if you don't want to use a map or something like that, I don't think you'll ever find it.
Right.
So we did a couple of viewpoints on the way as well. And like you said, right, each view is very different. And if you stay there for even 10 minutes, right, you keep seeing different views, because the clouds and the thing, they keep changing the paradigm there very, very quickly. So it's very nice to stand and just watch it over there. So that's true for any viewpoint in Munnar, actually. It's very nice, and it's mesmerizing to just watch there and see the mountains there. Mm-hmm. So that was good. And post that, we actually came back for lunch to the resort. So in the evening, we wanted to do a little bit of like culture show, and we had, out of the reviews on Google, we had identified 2 places. One was Munnar Traditional Village, and the other was Kalari Kshetra. Both were like pretty close to our resort. Mm-hmm. So we were open to go to both. So we just explored with the resort front desk on which is better rated. And they mentioned that Munnar Traditional Village is the higher rated place for these shows. So we opted for that. And in that place, they actually have 2 shows, right? So the 5 to 6 p.m. every day is the Kathakali show. Mm-hmm. And 6 to 7, they have the Kalari Payattu. So Kalari Payattu is the martial arts form, and that is very popular in Kerala. Yep. And Kathakali is more of the dance form where they depict certain stories, and costume and dressing is the highlight of that whole show. So we wanted to explore both, but given that this resort was itself placed in a very steep road and all that, we didn't want to really take any risks by coming in late back to the resort. Like Faiza mentioned, right, the pretty place gets really dark suddenly. Yeah. And we thought, okay, today let's do 5 to 6 p.m. like just one show, and maybe the following day we will once we get used to the place a little more, then we'll come back in the dark. It should be okay, like 6 to 7.
Right.
So with that thought process, we actually went in first for the Kathakali show. Mm-hmm. And the place, they call it a traditional village, so don't go by the name. It's not really like a huge place, village and all that. Uh-huh. It's just a building with a couple of theater places, and one is like a seating, normal theater seating kind of a place. And the second one is more like the ring around which you have seats, and the center ring location is where the show Kalari Payattu takes place. So that's pretty much what that place is. Mm. The show itself was very nice. So the Kathakali show was about a story on one of the incidents in somewhere in Mahabharata, a very small episode. It was about a king who was tricked by a demon, but then the king got better of the demon and came out successful. So that was a small snippet that they were actually depicting that day. And it was very, very, very nicely done. And especially the singer, right? Such a powerful and loud voice in that auditorium. It was really beautiful to see that. So they did a very great performance on that. Mm. Of course, we had some disturbances in the audience and all, but then on the whole, the show went really well. So that was a highlight of the place. That was good.
Yeah,
And actually,
just to call out right about Kathakali, for people who might not have seen it before, or seen the form of dance before, I think it's very unique in the sense, like as Sangeetha mentioned as well. Just watching the facial expressions and how they emote, right? The characters, how they emote. It's really something to go and experience there, because it's not your regular. Say a drama or a play where the characters are exchanging dialogues and stuff like that. This is all like played song or singing that's played out in the background. Somebody does this in the background, and it's the characters that are emoting this on stage, and they're usually dressed up, and mostly men that is dressed up. I don't know if this has changed a lot, but usually it's men that's dressed up even as women, for example, for roles of women, right? So that way, it's definitely something one should check out while in Kerala. It's this dates back to quite a few centuries actually, but it picked up popularity around the 17th century is what I believe. So if you're in Kerala, do make sure to check out. There's a handful of these cultural centers where this is performed. So make sure to like have this on your list of things to check out while in Kerala. But yeah, sorry to interject. Go on with your next step, Sangeetha.
sure. So yeah, with that, I think we finished up the show, but pretty much due to the heavy rains, right? Even at 6 p.m. it was pitch dark. We ended up coming in the dark back to the resort. So our initial intention was lost of not driving back in the darkness. But still, I think we still had a good day. And since we reached back by like 6:30 or so, we just did a relaxing around the resort, and they have a spa facility as well. So we used that, and we ended up with a movie and some good food at the resort. That's day 2. And next day, day 3, they themselves conduct a trek around the resort. So they have a person within the resort. His name is Mr. Philip, and he's a person who's been there for long. He knows the history of Munnar, and he also knows the varieties of the fruits, plants around and things like that. So he does a very nice short trek. It's not a very long one. It's 1 hour, but it's just around the resort. So you get down the mountainside and you come up the tea plantation. And he had a very good knowledge about the different kinds of flora and fauna around that area, and he was able to show us some different kinds of fruits and flowers which we haven't seen before. But of course the place itself is like pretty hilly, right? So if you're with kids, it does get a little exhausting for the kids to walk up, and we had to end up carrying her a little bit here and there, but still it was good. And when we reached the backside with the tea plantation and that area, it was very good for like some nice photo shoots, so to take some good pics. It was good.
Okay.
So we did that walk, and we came back. And that day, the plan was to actually go a little north, where we wanted to look into Munnar's northern views of the Eravaikulam National Park and the Anamudi viewpoint. What we gauged from Mr. Philip on the trek was that we could actually combine a few of our mid-region and north itineraries, so that we could reserve one extra day for a different place called Kolukumala Estate, which is supposed to have stunning views. So we thought, okay, we'll reserve a day for that, and we headed out to Eravaikulam National Park on day 3. One thing I would want all the viewers to really be sure of is the day that you're actually going to this national park. Unfortunately, we didn't think about it. We went on a Sunday to it, and it was so crowded that the lines itself just to get into the national park would take you like 1.5 hours.
Oh my God.
We wanted to go to the national park mainly because of we could show some animals to the kid, and apparently the Nilgiri Thar there is very famous, the mountain goat. And during certain seasons, they also have the Neela Kurunji flower, which is very famous, but it blooms only once in 12 years. So we knew that's not happening this year. But still we wanted to at least see the animals, and apparently the national park has a very good view of the Anamudi viewpoint. So we wanted to go for that. And even after we heard the 1.5 hour waiting at the entry, we thought, okay, let's just walk around. We don't have to wait for the bus safari kind of a thing. But unfortunately, only after getting in, we realized that you cannot walk around. You have to wait for the bus safari. So we decided, okay, we don't really want to get in. And we had like small conversations with the security guard, and he told us where we could actually get a good view of Anamudi viewpoint, which was outside the national park. So after we spoke to him, we drove up to that place, that viewpoint. That was very surprising that Google does not map that place, and there's no specific name. The localites just call it the 5th mile gap. It's just called a gap. So what they told us was just drive down 5 kilometers and then that will be your place. There's no marking on the place. So we were like, okay, fine. We just drove up 5 kilometers, and exactly at the 5th kilometer, there was a small clearing where we could actually park the car. We parked it, we got down, and when we just turned back, it was a really, really huge, massive single mountain.
Wow.
And proper to the name, right? Anamudi viewpoint. Anamudi in Tamil and Malayalam just means that it's like an elephant. The rock really looked like an elephant. It was like huge monolithic rock. And when it was covered by these clouds and below were tea plantations and one side was forests, it was a beautiful, beautiful view with a combo of all of these. And initially it was just clouds covering the whole thing, but then slowly the clouds started moving out. And when we spent there like around 15-20 minutes, it was a completely different view of the whole mountain. That's the beauty of Munnar that I liked everywhere compared to other places where, yes, you have a lot of mountains everywhere, but these are really, really massive, and you can actually feel that height and you feel so humble and small in front of it. That's an awesome feeling to see there in Munnar.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're totally right about the Anamudi viewpoint, right? Also supposed to be the highest peak in the whole of South India, which is about 2,700 meters above sea level. So make it a point to get a glimpse of Anamudi viewpoint. And if you're there on a clear day, you might luck might be on your side, that it might not all be covered by clouds. It's just a great majestic view. We'll also be sharing some pictures that Sangeetha has taken of the peak, and even the Eravikulam is that how I pronounce this?
Yeah,
National Park, right? So that's also like you called out, right? The Nilgiri Tar, or the mountain goat, right? It's apparently an endangered species, and only a handful of them are now left behind. I think it's under 1,000 left behind. So something you might want to consider, but make sure you plan your day out well. Perhaps if you're visiting there on a weekday, it might be better short of getting on the safari without having to spend too much time waiting in the line. It also has a number of other animals as well, which are pretty rare. So it might be a good half a day kind of a thing if you're planning that out. Obviously, you can mix that up with the Anamudi view as well. So that's brilliant. I think two very important highlights of anyone planning a trip to Munnar. Where did you head off to after the Anamudi viewing, Sangeetha?
Yeah, after that, we wanted to keep a few things for the kid again. And for that, we identified the two places. One was a boating area, which was called the Mattupatti dam boating. And the second was the echo point, right? So because there apparently when you actually scream out, you get a very good echo back, and just wanted to show her that. So we went on for that. That is more in the mid area of like closer to the Munnar town. You have to cross the town. So we were there, and on the way, we actually saw some wild elephants crossing. So that was a very nice thing. I mean, we've always seen elephants in different areas, but these were really wild elephants munching off some grass on the way, and every car that was passing by suddenly tried to get a snap of it and stopping here and there. And we actually got a very good view of it because it's pretty close. Though, it is not very safe to be around that close views. We did a very quick photo shoot and then moved on that one. So there were 3 elephants there. So that was a good thing that we saw.
Yeah, I think even we came across something like that. Because when we were going to Mattupatti Dam, was that Mattupatti?
Yeah, Mattupatti Dam. I think that's the same one you're referring to also, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of meadows there, and touchwood, there are a lot of lot of elephants as well. And I don't know, somehow we saw a bunch of people standing and looking at something, and we were wondering what it is. We parked by and we came, and we were just like, out of nowhere, there was this like beautiful meadow with like an elephant, a baby elephant. Along with that, there were a couple of other elephants. But as you said, they are wild, so nobody was...
definitely don't get too close to them. But looks like it's a popular hangout joint of the elephants, because seems like even we found them around the same spot. So you headed off to Mattupatti Dam from here, right? That was the point?
Yeah.
How was your experience there? Yeah.
Yeah, the boating there was good. So it's not exactly at the dam, but a little away there's a jetty point, and there we had the boating. We went on a speedboat because we didn't want really just a sailing one. We wanted some little bit of adventure. So that was good. It was actually a very good experience because he drove it pretty fast, and he gave us some quick, nice twists and turns. And so we were like all screaming, and it was good. So that we enjoyed a lot. And of course, they have along with that a few other like theme park kind of other games for the kids, etc. But we didn't really go into that because we wanted to get back for the Kalarippai to show that day, which we had already booked tickets for. And so on the way back, we just stopped at the Echo Point. The Echo Point, right? It's actually a nice place where you can actually hear an echo. But unfortunately, again, it was a Sunday and there were a lot of visitors there. So everyone screams. So that gets a little smushed up.
A lot of echoes.
Yeah. And there was a big gang there who were trying to do some pipers playing around. And so that was a little disturbing around.
Right.
But on the whole, it's a place where you can actually hear an echo. It's not just like some mention of it, but it's really nice. So
yeah. I think going a little back when we had gone to Mathupeti Dam, so we crossed and we came to the jetty, the place where all it's like, a lot of rides and the boat rides and all that. So somehow that evening, Saif and I didn't want to do anything with too many people involved. So
we thought, because this place is usually quite crowded also. I can't remember if we went there on a weekend, but it was pretty crowded and a little bit of waiting and all that. We were like, let's give this a break, and we just ventured out to...
So we started driving a little, like almost touching the water, the dam area. And we came across this spot where there were a couple of cars parked, maybe like one or two other car parked. So we parked our car too, and this actually led to a small walkway, and then we had this meadow right next to the water where there were just people like maybe I think just another two, like a family of two people sitting there. And so even we went there, sat there. I remember it was so surreal, so beautiful, because there was just water and greenery and the meadow, and you're sitting there. And I remember Saif pretty much lying down there, and I was reading a book, and we were eating hide and seek biscuits.
Yeah, I remember that.
This seems straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
But
I loved that place.
Yeah, the point is, like, if you don't enjoy a lot of people around you and you want to have some like me time or you time for yourself, right? You can definitely drive. It's not too far away. Just venture out a little bit. It's almost like grasslands by the water, so you can just hang out there and just chill for some time. And then stay away from the crowds.
Elephants, and stay away. Be careful with elephants also.
Yeah, because even we saw, but were these on the other side of the water?
Other side of the water.
Okay, thankfully, they were on the other side of the water, so no immediate threat. But usually, watch out when you venture out into such places, right? Look out for elephants. It's a real thing here. You can't run into an elephant, and don't be surprised by that. So that was a little digression from Sangeetha's itinerary. But so after Mathupeti, which way were you headed now, did you say, Sangeetha?
So we got back to like closer to our resort area, when we went back for the Kalarippai to show in the same place, Munnar Traditional Village. So this was from 6 to 7 p.m. and this is actually rated higher than the Kathakali show.
Okay.
It was really good. They did a very great demonstration of the different kinds of fights they do in martial arts, like the dagger fight, the stick fight, spade fight, knife, a lot of things, different ones. And so they also ended it with a nice fire act wherein they would fight within fire rings and jump through it and a lot of things like that. So that really gives a great combo of you should be prepared for it mentally. The person who's doing it is really prepared mentally and also physically very fit. That shows how much you can do when you have a very good combo of your physical and mental emotions in sync.
Absolutely.
So that was a great show that we watched. And then we headed back. Now we were used to the darkness and the place around, so we were okay with coming back a little in the night. So that was day 3. And the next day we had planned to go to Kolukumalai estate, where the views are really, really supposed to be stunning, and if you can actually trek a little bit more, I believe it's really nice. But then we explored further details, like how long it takes to get there and what is the ride kind of. We figured out that it's going to be a really long journey on road, and also the ride on the jeep, like you have to take a jeep from the base point there to the top of the hill, and there it's supposed to be a very, very bumpy ride even on a 4-wheel drive. So we gave it finally we decided, okay, might be not worth the physical strain, and we were not very sure if the kid will be good with it or not. So we decided to give that a skip and do something just for her the whole of next day.
Right.
So that is something that we actually missed in the itinerary this time, and which has been really, really recommended by everyone. Maybe
because we happened to go there. So there was this shop near the property where we were staying, and he suggested saying that you guys should go to Kolukumalai viewpoint. The sunrise is really beautiful there and all that.
Yeah.
And we actually signed up on this short itinerary with him. Again, you'll need to bargain because they'll like initially start off quoting like really high and all that.
Yeah, it's expensive, and you absolutely need to go in a Jeep for this.
Yeah, you cannot
Even
drive.
if you have a great like a SUV, a 4x4, like you mentioned, right? It won't stand it, believe me, because the roads are so bumpy. It's literally feels like you're driving on a hill on rocks. So it's really, really bumpy, and it's really early
somehow,
also.
Some people were there with an Royal Enfield. I don't know how did they manage to ride up.
Apparently, I don't know if you have watched this movie, Sangeetha, but a popular Dulquer Salman movie, Malayalam movie. Apparently, again, I won't try to butcher the name, but it loosely translates to like blue skies, green earth, red, green waters, red earth, something like that. After that, it became really popular. This joint became really popular for a lot of Enfielders, like people with Royal Enfield, to ride up this point. But yeah, again, with the caveat that
worth it.
You have to set out really early in the morning. We started off at around 4 o'clock.
4 a.m.
Because it takes about an hour. For us, it took about 1.5 hours to get there, and it has to be in a Jeep. And even in a Jeep, you're like literally thrown around the whole place.
Yeah.
So be mentally prepared for this.
You will not believe it. My Fitbit or the tracker and even my phone, the step tracker, within like 5 minutes of our ride on the Jeep, it started showing that I have crossed 10,000 steps because it was so shaky. My phone and my Fitbit thought that I'm running. It was so bad. Yeah. Okay. But after one, and especially for someone with a weak back also, I think you need to like either wear a band or something around your waist and then sit if you're taking the chances. But the view from there is really beautiful. There's something like I would want to share. The view is really nice, but then again it depends, because if you're not that lucky and there are a lot of clouds, you would miss the sunrise. But nevertheless, it's really nice and really beautiful. And I remember it was pretty cold. I think around it almost took us 1 hour to 1.5 hours to get there. And around 5:15 a.m. you're standing there in such a cold, and there's this tea stall right there. And I remember we took tea and bread omelette and we ate it, and that was like the best ever tea and bread omelette ever.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the conditions around that made it taste so good or whatever. Just the ride that your stomach had churned so much that anything was tasting like really nice. But we had a good time there. And apart from just getting a view of the sunrise, right? I think there's also this very beautiful old tea factory almost.
Yeah, tea factory.
It's a wooden tea factory, and apparently it's
with the same name. I think it's called Kolukumalai Tea Factory.
Yeah, it's I think pretty old also.
So I remember
the Britishers or something.
Yeah, because I remember the person saying that since this Kolukumalai tea the entire estate is located at such a height, the tea itself is, it's supposed to be like the highest in the entire...
it's the highest, apparently the Kolukumalai tea estate, right? It's the highest organic tea estate in the world.
Yeah.
Not just India.
Not just India,
something to definitely check out. And if you are up for it, they'll take you for a little tour of the tea factory too.
We got to experience that. It was pretty cool, because he showed us from the steps where the tea leaves up plucked, and then after that it's how it's dried and the withering process and the entire part where the tea is made. And then he showed us different types of tea, and then we got to drink some tea also there at the factory. And I think we pretty much purchased for everybody back home like a packet each.
This is something, it's not just about the sunrise. If you're planning on visiting there, there's a couple of things you could do. There's also a small trek, apparently, that you could do, like I think even you touched upon. So a lot of things, and definitely do make it a point to visit this place. But it comes with caveats. Just remember that it's not a very easy ride, and you have to book ahead of time and do this. Don't do this in your own vehicle if you're like driving in a car there, right? Because your regular sedans won't stand it at all.
I don't think
there's
after
no
one
chance
point.
to do it. So that was a little bit of a digression from us, Sangeetha. We had to share this.
No problem. I really love that description of that, because that's something I really missed and we wanted to badly do it. But maybe next time, we'll keep it for next time.
Yeah, Sangeetha, if you let us, we'll just talk, I think, a whole episode
I'm
about
sorry.
our experience. But please carry on with your itinerary.
Sure. So I think once we dropped out Kolkumalai from our itinerary, we just trying to figure out, okay, what would interest her, the kid. And so we tried to explore a few options. And again, we didn't want to go too far for it. We narrowed down to one place called the Dreamland Fun and Adventure Park, which was close by. It was supposed to have some activities for the kid where she could play a lot of different things. And so we tried to even ask there, do you allow ziplining for 4-year-old? And again, we got an answer no. So we had promised to give her one more chance at it. So we went back to the same place, the Blossom Heidel Park. You won't believe it. And the best part of this is, everywhere the kid is free because she's below 5 years. Okay. And we have to pay for us adults when we don't do anything there, but you have to pay the entry fee, pay the car parking and do everything and then get in, and then she goes in for a free ride and comes back, but everything else. So that's a little funny state, but we narrowed down. So we went back to that place. We got her to do the ziplining, which she was really happy about. And then we went to this place called Dreamland Fun and Adventure Park. Again, the supposedly adventure activities were not for kids below 10 years. So she was not allowed. So we went in only for the fun park part of it. Yeah, so again, we paid for the adults and the kid was free there. And there it was not even a small entry fee. It was $1,000.
Oh my God.
Adult. So
are you serious?
Good money. Yeah. Yes. And again, the reviews on the internet for that also was somewhere close to 3.9 or 4. So going by that, we just thought, okay, it might be still okay. And we went in. But to be honest, again, this was the second disappointment that I had. I think because of the highly commercialized state of Munnar, it's given high ratings as well. But to be frank, what we've seen in other cities as theme parks, like maybe Bangalore has a Wonderla, etc., the pricing of that seems to be very high in Munnar. And the type of rides they had there also was not really the big bang rides that you see in other parks. It was pretty okay. It was small rides and stuff. So on the whole, right, that experience was I felt it was too highly priced. But if you seriously have a kid who wants to do some activity and you don't have anywhere else to go, then I think you can still give it a shot, because we were able to spend 3 hours in that, but it was not really some great place where I would revisit kind of a thing. So they did have a decent set of activities, they had a small pedal boat kind of where the kid herself could pedal. Then they had small walking across a bridge, ropeway bridge and all that, because these were some things I was trying to look in the actual nature spots, some waterfalls in Munnar had all these kind of walking on a ropeway bridge and all. But unfortunately, I think the recent floods have washed out quite a bit. After that, we just came back on that day. We had not used any of the activity rooms or anything in the resort. So we spent that evening doing that. And of course, the spa also is just some things we tried in that. So it was a good thing. So they had a lot of activities within the resort. When I say activities, it's more like board games of thing. Carom, checkers and all that. I mean, me and my husband are fans of these board games. Somehow we enjoy playing that, but it's been a long time since we actually did it. Just been very busy in life. So, but now we were okay, it was actually fun to recollect some of those old games and checkers and all. It was fun. And we were trying to teach her, our kid also some of these games which she has not seen before. Of course, it caught her attention for some time, but not completely, but still it was fun.
Yeah. Because I think that's something that even we, after ages, Saif and I played a board game. I think that was the first board game that we played together, actually.
And I think it was raining that day, so we didn't.
So it was raining, and then we, as I told you earlier, we were trying to get back to our property a little, early, so that we are not caught up when it's dark. And we played a lot of board games, and it was so cool. It was, I don't know, somehow it was like a different bonding, I feel.
She thinks it's cool because she can win at those, so that's why she thinks it's cool.
Okay, so whatever.
But I think one good thing, if you're living in a resort, you'll have all these other amenities, right?
Yeah, and even campfire and all that, they'll end up doing stuff like that.
Actually, this time, because of it kept drizzling slightly throughout, so I think campfire is something which we could not do. But they had a very nice sit-out kind of a place where, again, that place had a very good view. So it was literally like every day when we come out of the room, my husband would go up there first, see how the view is. And we used to see it like morning, it's a different view, evening, it's different. So it was that was a good way that we had even in the resort.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And one thing, Sangeetha, I would just like to point out is the number of waterfalls also at Munnar offers is crazy, because I remember when we started off driving towards Munnar, we do come across a lot of waterfalls, right? So would you like to touch upon some waterfalls that you guys got to experience?
Sure. So on the way, right, you're right, actually, I missed pointing that out, right? Even from Kochi to Munnar, when you drive down, you see a lot of them on the way. Some of them are these small ones which keep trickling down, but some are really huge. Like Chaipara Waterfalls was one of them which we saw was really big and nice. It had a majestic view. Even from a very far point, you can see the water coming, gushing in. So it was very beautiful.
Right.
And there are a couple more, like Atukad is very famous, and this I missed one more name. But the point here, right, none of these waterfalls you can actually get down and get yourself wet into the water, because they're pretty either very rocky or in a place where you can't really walk into the water.
Right.
So that was one thing which I see different, and we didn't get to experience. There was only one called Viripara Waterfalls, where you can actually go near the water and maybe dip yourself, or even you can swim around a little bit, I heard. But apparently because of the recent floods, again, that roads leading to that waterfall has been really, really damaged. And they call it off-roads, but it's really bad. So my husband didn't want to test that out on a rented car, so we skipped that out.
Yeah. Because even when I remember when we were driving by, they were touchwood, so many waterfalls that we came across as well, and they were even the roads are pretty. I mean, at least back then, this is before the floods. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's the condition now, but the roads also were perfectly made on top of the waterfall, so you would just see that on your left side the waterfall would be you could see the majestic, huge waterfall, and then it would just trickle down under the road, and then on the right side it's just continuing.
Correct.
Yeah, and you just drive across it. So it's a lot of them, and very beautiful and pretty majestic big ones also. So yeah, it's blessed with a number of waterfalls in that way.
Yeah, that's something to consider. And a couple of other points also, if you have the taste for it. There's a couple of popular churches also that one can visit, but this will probably be a little more towards the Munnar town. So if you're heading towards the town, then make sure to stop by in these and visit these churches if you're interested. There was a CSI church, Christ Church, I think, one of the popular ones. And there was also, remember, Faisal, there was a tea museum,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this was the Kannan Devan Tea Museum or something on those lines. So that's something too. Again, don't go by like a big museum with galleries and all that. It's pretty small, but it has some interesting facts about tea and the different kinds of tea and the history here, right, in Munnar, and it's pretty dated also in terms of how long ago it's been here. So a lot of different things to do, and yeah, the waterfalls you will stop counting after some time because there's so many of them and so many nameless ones also, because smaller ones, they just pop up by the side, and depending on the I think time of the year also, a lot of them perhaps is seasonal, so just keep an eye out for them.
So I think just talking about the city, I don't know, I'm not sure if you guys did this, but I came across a lot of these stores that had their own personal cardamom and tea plantations, and they offered cardamom and some spices overall, like pepper, cardamom and cloves and all that at a pretty good rate. So I remember taking a lot of these spices back home for my mother-in-law and for my mom, and they were so happy because the quality was really, really good. Yeah.
Spices, dry fruits, and homemade chocolates was something.
Chocolates also was there. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it's something nice to take away back home and use it and remember Munnar. Yeah.
So that's brilliant. So this was day 4, right, Sangeetha?
Yeah.
And we are almost winding up by this time?
Yeah, so day 5 was just because we had to drive down back from Munnar to Kochi that day, so we didn't really keep anything on the agenda. Mm-hmm. We just spent the time at the resort, and we drove back after an early lunch at the resort. We also, and one thing I really call out in this entire thing is the culture in Kerala. The people are really, really very friendly. I think they have been so used to tourism, and they really blend well into that culture. Anybody is ready to help you, show you directions or give you information, or even just like to talk to you in a friendly manner, right? It's really pleasing. And even the resort was very accommodative in terms of like checkout, late checkout, or early lunch, food, whatever you order, etc. So that was really, really good. So that day, the car rental, right, was so smooth process. We just booked it online. We just went there. The guy came on time. He gave us the car after a very smooth process of checking the driving license. That's it. And even for the pickup back, he was there on time. Very well communication. Like he kept keeping us informed on where he is, when he will reach it. So we're back at Kochi airport. We handed the car back, and then we took the flight back to Bangalore that day. So that kind of covered the whole vacation for us.
Let's go back.
I know. I wish.
Oh my God, I like Munnar a lot.
Yeah, but thank you for drawing this out so beautifully for us, and especially I think even more credit to you that you traveled there with a toddler. Because sometimes it can get stressful, but you guys kind of give pro tips from time to time as to how you manage to keep the toddler busy also. So kudos to all of you, and it was a great time for us to listening and going back. I think this is like 2.5 years ago that we did this, so it was good for us also, like reliving those moments while sharing the journey with you.
Yes, good luck to you, and we are definitely looking forward to hearing more travel stories and maybe like tips about traveling with a kid.
Thank you so much for sharing this experience with us, and thank you so much for as a listener and also as a old friend now touching back base with you was really enjoyable. We really appreciate this and look forward to keeping in touch with your future travels also, Sangeetha.
Thank you, Sangeetha.
Sure. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. It was really great being on this, and yes, great to talk to you guys after such a long time. So thanks a lot.
That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.